What's up everyone, we're back at it again. My name is Brad and welcome back to my channel. Today is the day I'm going to give you the week 7 update on what all of my ficuses look like since being placed outside. Some of them I have given them the big chop and others I've just placed outside to see the vigorous growth. So without further ado, let's get to it. It's been cloudy for a couple of days, but for the week 7 update, we have another beautiful sunny day. So let's start the week 7 update with the beautiful Ficus Elastica Burgundy. The Ficus Elastica Burgundy is, again, just putting on a lot of growth. I love that bushy vertical top that it has, and I also like how thick this stem is getting here as well. Now, I am most likely going to just keep this loosely staked because I want to try my best to keep this stem nice and vertical as opposed to having that slight lean that it used to have. So again, when we look at these leaves, we'll see that the leaves have definitely become larger in size, and they're also becoming more mature more quickly as well. So with all of the branching that we currently have with this particular Ficus Burgundy, I'm starting to get the branches in different growing stages, which I really enjoy. I haven't yet rotated this, and I'm probably going to wait later on this month before I rotate because I want my stem again to maintain this vertical growth. And because the sun is more intense on this side, I want to keep the sun intensity the opposite side of my lean. So if my Ficus Burgundy is leaning to the right, I want to make sure that the sun intensity is highest on the left. Alternatively, let's say my Ficus Burgundy was leaning to the left, I would want to make sure that the intensity was most bright on the right, or you would just rotate it to where the sun intensity is greatest, the opposite of the lean. So anyway, Ficus Burgundy is looking great. Look at those leaves. I watered a couple of days ago, and I needed to water because although it had been pretty cloudy, the soil was dry. I typically like to film myself watering these plants, but if your plant is thirsty, your plant is thirsty. So like I said, I just went ahead and watered it. And you can see that the soil is still on the moist side. See how dark that is? That's damp, although the surface is a little dry. So all in all, it's looking good. Ficus Elastica Burgundy. Here is my Ficus Elastica Robusta. Again, similar to the Ficus Elastica Burgundy, the leaves are getting really, really good size. Now, the difference between the Burgundy and the Robusta, you can really see the differences in the leaf color here. The Burgundy truly has like this burgundy black type color to it with a hint of green as an undertone, whereas the Robusta is more green forward. So with this Robusta, as you can see, again, all of these branches are in different stages, and you can also see that it has put on an additional amount of growth since last week's update. I can't wait to show you what one of my other plants looks like with the week 7 update because it has put on so much more growth that you're going to be blown away. So anyway, with this Robusta here, let's see here if there's anything to note besides just the amount of growth. Well, let's take a look down here. So I'm really excited about this branch that's forming here because I need to have more apical growth. It's great that my Robusta is branching outward and still growing outward, but I also wanted to get taller as well. So with this branch here, this is probably going to be my new leading apical branch that's going to go vertical. So that's exciting to see. It's also exciting to see these leaves that are in different stages of unfurling. You can see that these leaves are also nice and firm. They're not really flimsy, and that's because, again, I watered this not too long ago, and there's really no droopiness in the leaves. So my Ficus Elastica Robusta, yet again, a stunner, showstopper. I love it. It's looking good. Can't wait to see what next week looks like. If you like videos like this and want to continue to see more videos about houseplant tips and tricks, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. It's totally free and would mean a lot. Thank you so much. Now back to the week 7 update. Now with my Ficus Elastica Tineke, it started off really strong as far as the amount of growth that it put on, but it has since slowed down quite a bit relative to the Ficus Elastica Burgundy right back there. So the Tineke, it is having these beautiful painted leaves, but when the leaves become larger, that's when you can truly see and appreciate the variegation that it puts on. So the leaves are still, I'm going to call it on the small side, not even medium, the small side. And because they're on such a small, because they're on the small side, they really aren't showing off what it's going to look like here maybe in another month or so. So if you take this leaf down here, for instance, I mean, this is an example of the variegation that we will expect to see when the leaves become bigger, as opposed to if you take this leaf right here, you can see that the variegation isn't really quite as strong. But regardless, my Ficus Elastica Tineke is still a beautiful plant, and I think it's going to put on a lot of growth still yet to come. I'm hoping that the leaves do become quite large, and I know they will become as large as the Robusta here, but it's just a matter of time. So Ficus Elastica Tineke, beautiful plant to add to your collection. Week 7 update looks good. Soil is still damp, so I'm not going to water, but I'll keep you updated on what the progress looks like there as well. So here are my Ficus Audreys. So we have Ficus Audrey 1. I think I call this Ficus Audrey 1. And then we have Ficus Audrey 2. Ficus Audrey 2, again, in a new pot, a bigger pot. And since being in that bigger pot, it is really trying to put on some growth, which is amazing. I did rotate this recently because, again, I want the sun to be on the opposite side of the lean. And since it is leaning to the right, I need the sun intensity to be most on the left. And it is doing pretty well. I need for the branches to start forming along this stem here where it's bare. I could, for instance, decide to notch, but because these Ficus Audreys readily branch, I really don't need to do that here. You can actually see branch formation occurring without me having to do much of anything. So we actually have leaf showing right there. And then when we come over to the Ficus Audrey 2, which is just absolutely looking monstrous right now. Right now it's about 5 feet in a pot. Actually more like 5.5 feet in the pot. I'm hoping that by the end of this growing season, it's going to be 6 feet plus. That would be amazing. And also I'm hoping by the end of this growing season, the branching that it's starting to put on, so for instance, there's a branch that's coming towards me, I'm hoping that it continues to extend out, because it's great when you have that bushy growth up top, but if you really want character for your trees, I recommend that you let the horizontal growths really extend out. And if you have a nice sturdy trunk, you don't have to worry about any kind of lean that is associated with the branches sticking out. Because I keep this outside, the wind is doing its work on it, and because the wind is doing its work on it, the trunk is getting nice and sturdy by itself. And you can actually see, let me point this out here. So do you see how this stem is like a green color? And then if we come down here, how it's more of this tannish white color? Well, it's because this is new growth. This is new growth since this season, and it hasn't quite hardened off from the wind yet. The wind will work wonders on this, and the wind will, in fact, eventually turn this green into that tan color. And when it becomes tan, that's how you know it's really like stiffening up. So Ficus Audrey, beautiful. This Ficus Audrey is coming along. It too will be beautiful, but it's looking good. Here are the plants that started it all, the Fiddle Leaf Figs. So here's my Fiddle Leaf Fig number 1 and Fiddle Leaf Fig number 2. Fiddle Leaf Fig number 1, it hasn't put on that much growth since the previous week's update, so since the week 6 update, but I do think that I'm going to get some new leaves coming in about 2 weeks or so. because I do see a little bit of swelling right here. Now, unfortunately, this branch that I was hoping was going to form right here above my thumb hasn't really pushed out any new growth. So that's a bit sad because I really wanted to have some growth coming out here towards me. But these leaves are still looking good, and I think it's still gonna have a very, very beautiful shape. I haven't rotated it since, I believe, week 3, so we're good with this one. Now, when it comes to this Fiddle Leaf Fig, this Fiddle Leaf Fig number 2, it has put on some new growth. So I had some swelling on these buds up here. So these are 3 new leaves. So 1, 2, 3, and we also have new leaves here. 1, 2, 3. And then we additionally have 2 new leaves here. And again, this has all happened in a week. 2 new leaves here. 1, 2. And 2 new leaves here. 1, 2. Now, a lot of that has to do with just the fact that I have continued to feed my Fiddle Leaf Figs. And it also has to do with the fact that it's getting that bright sunlight. I do want to quickly call your attention to this white mildewy substance here. We can take care of that, no problem. I'm just going to take a soapy solution and just wipe that off. I'm not going to use anything like neem oil on it because of the fact that it's outside. And when it's outside with that intense sunlight, the foliage will be really photosensitive, and that's going to cause these leaves to burn. So I'm not going to use neem oil. Instead, I'm just going to use soap water, wipe it off, and it should be good to go. So here's the ficus that I was really excited to show you. And this is the Ficus Altissima Yellow Gem. It has put on so much growth in the matter of a week. And last week in the week 6 update, I really said that I can't wait for you to see how these leaves look when they become larger, because it really shows off just the wonderful variegation that these plants have. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, where the leaf is outlined by this lime green color, but then inside it's filled in with the mixture of dark green as well as a medium green color tone. And all of the leaves are like that. When you give these bright sunlight, you can expect this variegation pattern. If you keep your plant indoors and it's not getting that bright sunlight, what's going to happen is your leaf is pretty much going to essentially be this dark green color, and you're going to have a medium tone green color around the edge. So you're really not going to be able to appreciate and enjoy the colorful array of colors that this Altissima produces. So I have so many branches that are also happening with this yellow gem, which is just remarkable. So for instance, on this one branch, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 branches off of this branch. I have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 branches off of this branch. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on the opposite side, there's some growth points that haven't yet activated on this branch here as well. And then along the trunk, I also have some activations. This is a testament to what topping your trees off can really do, especially if you give them a lot of sun, and especially if you give them fertilizer. They want to live, they want to survive, they are extremely resilient in the right conditions, and even in the wrong conditions, they can easily be brought back to life if then given the right conditions. But these plants, they want to give you growth. I recommend this plant if you find a Fiddle Leaf Fig to be a little bit challenging, because the Altissima is a little bit less demanding. Now, obviously, like I said, you might not get the beautiful variegation that I mentioned earlier if you can't give it that bright direct sunlight, but you will still get growth. So my Ficus Altissima Yellow Gem. Here is my Ficus Moonshine that has put on a leaf, and it doesn't look like I have any swelling here. So I'm probably going to be about 2 or 3 weeks out before I get any additional growth. I will say I do think that the stem is getting a bit sturdier, which is great. So the Moonshine is a beautiful ficus. Now, I know I said before that I wanted to keep an eye on this particular leaf here. So this was a leaf that I think was pretty new when I first got the plant. And I wanted to know whether or not, with the amount of sunlight that I was gonna give it, if this color, this undertone, it's a pinkish undertone, would eventually go away and become more of this whitish greenish undertone, or if it would maintain. So far it looks like it's maintaining, but I'm gonna give it a couple of more weeks and see if this maintains or if it goes back to this whitish green color. I'm curious to see whether or not this pink undertone is a product of sun, or if it's just a matter of that's what the newer leaves look like. So here is my Ficus Moonshine. So there you have it. That's the week 7 update about what all of my ficuses look like since bringing them outside. Some of them have just put on a tremendous amount of growth, like my Ficus Altissima Yellow Gem, and others are a little bit slower, like my Ficus Elastica Tineke. I do think by the end of this growing season, I'm gonna get a lot of tremendous vigorous growth, and I'm hoping that I'm at least gonna get 1.5 feet to about 2 feet of growth by the end of it. Thank you again for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. I'll see you next week with week 8 update on what all of my ficuses look like. See you on the next one.